I'm Spartacus Olsson.
I'm Indy Neidell, and this is a TimeGhost public service announcement. Now, some of you may have noticed that over the past couple of weeks on our Facebook and Instagram, we've had a bunch of interviews with a bunch of the people that make this fantastic content and our other stuff over at World War II, so that you can get to know us a little bit better, what we do and how we do it. And now we're going to weave some of those clips into an elegant tapestry, a video, a mosaic, if you will. Or if you won't, it's just sort of a compilation, okay? Mosaic or compilation, it's your call, but here it is.
So what do you like the most about your job here at TimeGhost?
What I like the most about my job is, I think, the crazy forgotten stories I get to read every day and write about and, well, present to you guys, the viewers. The kind of stuff that doesn't really make into the weekly episodes, but deserves attention because they're great stories.
The most fun part about my job, I think it's being able to learn something new all the time. So last week I was writing about a lot of the modern art movements in the interwar period, and I finally learned what Cubism actually is and what art movements like Dadaism is.
When it comes to editing, it's obviously I'm learning a lot of history, and I'm seeing so much more of this world thanks to all those videos and images. This project, through the course of these past 2 years, became very personal to me, and it makes me really happy to be able to experience this. I can go on and on with this explaining why I like this, but it's a great community, not only the fan base, but the people that are behind it. And this, I think, changed my life in a way, no matter how cheesy it may sound.
What would you say is the most frustrating thing, or the most difficult, or both?
Compared to my previous jobs, it hurts to find me any frustrating things.
Well, I think looking for archive footage, finding something that is amazing, stunning, beautiful, and then I find out that it's copyrighted. How in the world you can replace this beautiful image with something that you cannot find?
Well, sometimes I wish I would have a little bit longer to dive into a certain topic. You know, when I've written my episodes for March 1942, for example, that's it. I'm not going back there. Sometimes something's so interesting you just want to go on and about it, and that's just not possible.
I never seem to have enough time to answer people, to reply to people, to reach out to people. So a lot of messages and comments go unanswered, or maybe sometimes it takes like weeks or maybe months before anyone, well, me, have the time to properly reply or reach out. I wish that I could reply to everyone and show them that we do see what they write to us.
Another thing which is frustrating is the Dropbox, of course. At times we had our Dropbox which crashed or which automatically started deleting files, and our Dropbox is huge at the moment with all the archive files and with all the capture files from the recordings. If it starts deleting, like, oh God, no.
Now, I know I said most frustrating or difficult. What would the most challenging? What's the most challenging part of your work?
Looking at the pictures of murdered people and having knowledge, I guess, that this is real. It's not a movie. It's not acted out. It's very dark feeling. And especially when we did an episode about Babi Yar, I think it touched me the hardest. On the other hand, I feel like we do something good, and it is important to remember those events and to help others to remember. So that also helps getting through the most difficult pictures.
Well, I learned to cope. It was very hard at first. But here's the thing. In our different programs, we are confronted with humanity as a whole, like humanity's astounding achievements, fabrication of big machines, whatever, airplanes development, fascinating military logistics, medical breakthroughs, braveness of soldiers and medical staff, and then the worst, darkest, most violent, horrible, insane of what a human being can possibly do in the name of God knows what or who. That makes me think of the value of life itself. Well, it has made me think a lot.
Now, what do you think is the most important thing about history and history studies in general? What does it do for the world? And what does it do for you?
I'll start by talking about what it does for me, and then I'll go bigger. And I think for me, and I think for a lot of people, what should always be spoken, what should always be recognized is the personal fulfillment that comes from learning history. And that when you're reading and you're writing about it, you can really be transported to another world entirely. And that's an incredibly fulfilling experience. And also when you have that knowledge, it enhances your interaction with the world in general, because you know where you came from and you know why you're here in a specific point in history.
You would, for example, read a book that was written 300 years ago, and there is a description of emotions that the main character was going through, and you obviously can relate to it. Not necessarily to the circumstances, but you can relate to the emotions.
History is what allows you to connect the dots. And the more you study, the more dots you can connect. And I'm desperate to understand everything. If I had a superpower, it would be understanding everything.
I do love history because it plays a big part in shaping the future. Just like your own history plays a big part in your personal future. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you have a difficult future, right?
It's a great teacher, and it helps me personally put my life in perspective, and it forced me to think how I would act in certain situations. And all of that really helps me decide what role I'm playing in the world I am living in and what I can do to make it a better place.
I read about the most terrible things. I read about the loss of life of my own age group every day. So I'm reminded every day of how fortunate and grateful I should be.
It's also very important, especially in politics. The history is very much mythologized and distorted to aim the political goals, and knowing the history in its true scientific way is also very important to avoid the manipulations.
It's eye-opening for me. It proves to me that yes, people can be good, but they also can be bad, and they can do horrible things to others.
I'm more than sure that in 100 or 200 years from now, people will look back at us and think, oh my God, what this was a mess. Honestly, 21st century was an absolute mess. I think learning history and learning about other people's lives can give you a much broader perspective on how the world works.
If everyone has that awareness, if everyone understands why they got here, why they're in the specific point, then I think we could have a much more just society, a much more understanding society.
Okay, and how about this? Why should people join the TimeGhost Army?
I enjoy the TimeGhost Army. I think they are great guys. I see it in all the comments. I see it every day. I just love the guys.
People are eager to learn, eager to find out something new and see something interesting and pretty. And obviously we are trying to do our best to make this work.
our supporters and our fans, the people who watch what we do, they're why we exist.
It's extremely important because it pays the bills for everyone who's working in the team. And you have to realize that they're working their asses off every day and they're worth every penny they get.
Everything we produce is free for everyone to use who has access to YouTube. And I think that's something we can be really proud of. But just because it's offered free does not mean it's created cheaply. Not by any long shot.
In order to keep that going, it's really important that we have that financial support from you guys.
And I would be very happy if we could make more, if our historians could develop more historical content. I would be able to pay our interns. That would be nice, which I can't at the moment.
I think that if more people joined to the TimeGhost Army, we would have more resources to, for example, get access to those private archives I talked about earlier.
I think that's the only thing that separates us from the television budgets working productions.
We'll be able to visit more of the real world sites, not just of World War II, but also the war against humanity, to go to the camps.
In that way, you're part of a bigger mission. You're part of a big group, a growing group. I see you growing every day, of people who think history is important, and we should explore and we should investigate more. How can we tell those stories?
We make history accessible and available and understandable to people who might not be able, for reasons, to access it through school or through heavy books. We give those people a possibility to access history in another way. And that's a really important thing with TimeGhost to me. And the more people we have in the TimeGhost Army that help us being able to do this, the longer we can keep on giving this to people who might need it.
So it is very much a unique project that needs you to help us.
Great. I couldn't agree with you more, of course.
Well, that is all for today with this fantastic mosaic, tapestry, or compilation, whichever you choose to call it. And let us know. No, you know what? Do not let me know in the comments which you choose to call it. Just keep that to yourself. Now, if you want to see the full interviews with all of those people, you can check them out on Facebook and Instagram, and the links are in the description below. And you should definitely join the TimeGhost Army at timeghost.tv or patreon.com. And you will have all kinds of cool things happen to you, and all kinds of cool things will happen to us when you join the TimeGhost Army. So don't forget to do that. And you've probably subscribed, but if you haven't, this would be a good time to do so. See you next time.